Charlie Holder,
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard,
Here.
Angela McCalla,
Here.
Jean Marie Napolitano.
Here.
There is a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. And Madam Secretary, do we have anyone signed up for the Citizens Forum?
Yes, Madam Chair. Connie Bischoff.
You can remove it. Thank you. And if you could speak right into the mic and give us your name and your address.
My name is Connie Bischoff, and I live at 31 Coddington Wharf. And I'm going to read a poem. Fall is autumn, autumn is fall. Minor differences don't matter at all. As the leaves change and the tourists decrease, our streets aren't so busy. This gives us some peace. Yet that proposed hotel down Waits Wharf Way comes with 266 parking spaces. That is too much, we say. More traffic on Spring, Lower Thames, and the Fifth Ward leads to parking problems and gridlock that we can't afford. Crowding, more toilets, and soil pollution there might flush us away, and that would not be fair. So please, City Council, we hope you agree and help us protect our city by the sea. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
No, Madam Chair. The consent calendar.
Yes, motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exception of E and F.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Communication from Charles Allett.
Yes, this is a communication from Charles Allett, who is resigning from the Zoning Board of Review. We will receive with regret, and I just want to thank him and also Catherine Brandeis, who is resigning from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, to thank them for their service to the city. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion second to approve. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a pedicab business license renewal, Pirate Pedicab LLC, DBA Pirate Pedicab, 83 Vernon Street, Providence, Rhode Island, for 6 pedicabs.
Yes, this is a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a new vittling license, 1899 LLC, DBA Wally's Wieners, 464 to 466 Thames Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion seconded by Councilor Holder. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a daily horse and carriage license, New Deal Farm of Exeter, for December 25th, 2021, from 3:30 to 5 p.m.
Yes, motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
2021-2022 vittling license renewals.
Yes, this is a motion to approve the non-liquor vittling licenses for, that are on the docket, except for the Reef, which we will table until the council convenes as the Board of License Commissioners.
Second. Okay.
Yeah, all in favor.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to approve the non-liquor establishment extended hours, which is the Cumberland Farms on Broadway from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to approve the liquor establishments. You know what? I made a mistake. I'm
Yeah, the
sorry.
reef is in the liquor
Yes.
establishment.
Okay, so the motion to approve the liquor establishments that are on the docket, except for the Reef, which we tabled until the council convenes as Board of License Commissioners. I apologize.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes, we have several appointments to boards and commissions. We have one vacancy on the planning board. I make a motion to appoint Justin Smith to a 3-year term expiring 10/31/2024.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
I'm just going to say out loud that I do not agree with the appointment of the applicant that we're about to appoint. I think that in terms of qualification, I mean, we've had architects, lawyers, people with real technical skills. We also had members from the Navy through the Department of Defense, as well as the Navy War College, all with expertise and skills in terms of preservation. And we also had another applicant who was a former planning board chair who also went to serve as a senior staff and senior chief for the EPA in DC. And we're passing all of these to appoint another person, and I cannot support that.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
thank you. I would just like to add my voice to Councilor McCall's. I agree wholeheartedly with everything she said about the other applicants that we have, who I just feel we had applicants with much more experience that would be extremely beneficial to the city.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Zoning Board of Review.
Yes, Zoning Board of Review, I make a motion to appoint Samuel Goldblatt as chair.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. I make a motion to appoint David Riley from alternate to full member, 5-year term, expiring 11/10/2026.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. I make a motion to appoint Susan Perkins from second alternate to first alternate indefinite term.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Zoning Board of
Zoning
Review.
Board of Review, there's one vacancy for a second alternate indefinite term. I make a motion to appoint Nicole Chevery.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
So, which one? Me?
You?
Oh, okay. So again, it was recently brought up to our attention that one of the applicants had made it as a person to actually review. We have not discussed, nor have we held an actual interview to actually vet for zoning purposes. And so I also understand that there are a couple of applicants that actually expressed their interest in zoning as well. And I would ask that we continue, both Nicole and Nigel, until we can host another round where we can actually properly vet and ask the right questions in regards to zoning.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to continue this.
Second?
There's a motion and second to continue. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? 2, 3.
Motion passes 4-3. Motion fails.
Motion fails?
3 in favor, 4 opposed.
Okay. All right, well, then we have the original motion on the floor to appoint Nicole Chevery.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Reappointments to the planning board.
Yes, we have 3 reappointments to the planning board. Anand Topriani, 3-year term, expires 10/31/2024. Paul Marshall, 3-year term, expires 10/31/2024. And Kevin Mashad, 3-year term, expires 10/31/24. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution establishing a charter review commission.
Yes, this is a resolution that is requesting a charter review for the city of Newport. The last time we had a charter review was 2014. Over the last 7 years, issues have arisen that have raised the question of the need for a timely review of the charter to ensure that the provisions thereof meet the needs of our local government and the wishes of the people. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the city of Newport thereby establishes a charter review commission to review the city charter, make recommendations to the council for change or substitutions of provisions as they see fit and necessary. And be it further resolved, the charter review commission shall be comprised of 7 citizens who shall be appointed by the council no later than the council's meeting of December 8, 2021. And further resolve that the commission shall hold no less than 2 public hearings for input from the public and shall provide its findings and recommendations to the council by May 11, 2022, so that such recommendations can be addressed by the council and forwarded to Rhode Island General Assembly for inclusion in the November 8, 2022 general election ballot. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Thank you. I support this resolution. I think that having a charter review commission will be beneficial. I do want to bring up a potential amendment to see if this council would entertain it. Just on the final resolved, increasing the number of required hearings from 2 to 4, especially because, as we know, the Charter Review Commission will take up pretty intense items. The charter has a lot of complex issues in it, and I think that to give folks the ample amount of time to participate in the process, we should have more hearings. So I would like to, I move to amend the final resolved to change the number of hearings from 2 to 4.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Counselor.
Well, the resolve says no less than 2 hearings, but it doesn't say we couldn't hear more. So it seems to me that if people come and people are interested, that it could be any number of hearings to get there. So I don't understand the reasoning of that.
Yeah, I think maybe it might be a little confusing. Anytime they have meetings, and they're going to have monthly meetings, those are public and open to the public, and certainly the public can contribute. So,
If I may, Madam Chair?
sure.
Thank you. I recognize that the working meetings will be public, but the hearings, which are the more formal meetings, asking for public input, are where it is likely based on past charter review commissions. And I went through the minutes of the 2014 commission to try to understand this. The bulk of the public input does really come in these hearings. And while I recognize that if it says no less than 2, there could of course be more, I think that requiring a higher number just allows for more opportunity for that public input to be heard, especially because, okay, so we're saying there's 2, that doesn't invite the public input as much as I think a higher number does. And I think it behooves us to do as much as we can to not only invite and solicit, but welcome the public participation and input. And I think a higher number would do that.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a problem, but who is holding these public hearings? Will it be this commission? Will it be?
I mean, that's my understanding based on reading the resolution, is that it's the commission that's holding the public hearings.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So 4?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to have 4 public hearings from this commission. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. And the resolution as amended, the original resolution, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
A resolution regarding redistricting of city wards.
So this was a resolution that I had drafted. I had met with the city solicitor as well as our canvassing clerk in order to hash out what's happening with redistricting. So the purpose of redistricting is to keep the population of each district about equal. And because populations change every 10 years, we redistrict after we get the census data. So all of our elected officials are chosen from districts. You have congressional, legislative, and local municipal government. Each of those will shift as part of the census data. In our state, the legislation does most of the redrawing, although city council also has a say in redistricting. Redistricting matters because it is essential for our democracy as it is a key part of the system that ensures we have good representation. What that means is we have a one person, one vote, so that everyone's vote maintains equal power in selecting representatives. And the representatives that create our policies and are responsible for our laws. It means that our districts should be the same size. And so what this resolution calls for tonight is to ensure that we have a consultant to be able to help with the redistricting mapping process, and really to make sure that we have public engagement, because it is up to the citizens to ensure that representation is maintained. So, Madam Chair, I move passage.
Second?
There's a motion, second discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Councilor McCalla for the work that she put on this resolution. I was very happy to sign on because I think it's a wonderful initiative. And I've been going to I've gone to the local state redistricting meeting that happened, and I look forward to going to the next one that comes. And it is such an important issue because I know it can be, we can feel lucky in our community sometimes that we don't feel that we face the same issues in other parts of the country that they sometimes do when it comes to redistricting. To me, it makes it even more important to hold this process as publicly as possible and get the public outreach, because it is about maintaining not only the access to voting, but also public trust in our voting systems. And I think that this resolution will really help do that. And I look forward to the process and hearing what the people have to say about it.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I would just like to pose a question. Since we are doing the charter review, wouldn't it be beneficial to wait until that commission concludes and then take on the redistricting? I mean,
I don't see how the two correlate.
things can change depending on the commission and what they come up with. So I don't know. I understand in resizing and all that, but I'm just asking if it would be beneficial to wait.
The only comment I would make, if I can, is you do have the declarations for council and school committee starting next June.
Okay,
And you do want to have the ward lines
gotcha.
set by that time.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Yes, Counselor?
In terms of the redistricting, and I've been here a while, I look at it as a public process, but ultimately the state makes the decision. So I'm not quite sure, is the purpose of this resolution to allow the public to weigh in where they think the line should be?
Right. So, Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes, Counselor.
Well, if the answer is yes, then the lines go by voting numbers so that the population of each, that I understood, of each voting district was determined by the number of voters in that district. And that's why my district is so weird and goes all the way from Farewell Street all the way out to Ocean Drive, and lots of streets in the middle, that when the prior voting districts were made, my district had started at Memorial Boulevard. But because there's so many people who live south of Memorial Boulevard, that's how the third ward expanded geographically to way down to Farewell and Bridge Street. And it was because the number of voters. So when I look at this, I'm not really sure what the purpose is, other than to try to either expound on or challenge what the state is going to provide us with redistricting areas.
Okay, so what I can say, in the second whereas, it says, Section 3-7 of the Charter of the City of Newport requires that the city be divided into 3 wards for purposes of election of city councilors and school committee. So we've already got that in terms of the law. And the reality is, in terms of redistricting, a lot of people kind of have this concept that the only weighing factor happens to be the population. But there are actually 6 different dimensions that weigh into this. I also see this, yes, I think that we need to be doing everything to encourage public process. I also see this as an opportunity for civic investment and engagement in education 101. You know, there's tons of people that come in and maybe new to to understanding what exactly this is, how to actually draw the lines, and how to strategically ensure that your voice is inputted into what happens. And although I agree with you to an extent, Councilor Leonard, about that the state, does most of the redistricting, our city also weighs heavily on the comments and in perpetuity with, again, maintaining the balance. And we can best define that. We are also upholding the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Segley?
It states here in the resolution that the city has issued requests for proposal for outside service providers experienced in the drawing of voting district lines to assist the canvassing authority with drawing the new ward lines. So there is public input for sure, but my understanding is that we have to ensure that the wards are evenly divided with a population, but we also have to make sure that there aren't little pockets where people are kind of like in an outside area. So that's where an experienced vendor would come in to analyze all of that and then relay that to the public and have public comment. But it is not my understanding that the public draws the lines. Are you saying that the public will draw the lines?
The public absolutely weighs heavily in terms of how they foresee the lines. It is, to your point, ensuring that contiguousness happens so that we're not cramming, we're not drawing I don't know how to say it other than crazy lines.
But you are agreeing with your own resolution that an outside vendor will come in to be an independent voice in this process.
Right, to help, yes, absolutely.
Madam Chair?
Solicitor Bean, do you?
Yeah, I just want to point out it's basically following what we did the last time we drew the ward lines. The charter requires the council, the canvassing authority does it at the direction of the council. So you would start off with some type of resolution to do that. And then what we did in the past was hire a consultant. There are a number of consultants out there that are experienced in that. And then in the past, there was at least one public hearing where the public was able to review what the consultant drew. That was at the library. So really, the only thing this does is adds a few other public hearings for that, and it basically follows what we did the last time.
Right, and also ensures that a timeline is followed.
Correct. It was also to get the consultant on board earlier, so you weren't pushed up against the June declaration periods or close to it.
At this juncture, I'd like the canvassing clerk to come up, if she knew it, and just give a real brief overview for the benefit of the audience and the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to. Thank you, Madam
Name?
Mayor. Oh, Tracy Nelson, canvassing clerk for the city of Newport. I just wrote a brief summarization that I'll go over, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So the General Assembly appointed 18 members to a reapportion commission, 6 members from the House of Representatives, 6 members from the Senate, and 6 members from the public. That commission uses a vendor, and they began a series of public meetings throughout the state where they went over what their work will include. Their job is to redraw the congressional, representative, and Senate lines. Once those are done, then it gets passed down to the cities and towns, the municipalities, to redraw their ward and precinct lines. Those are 2 different animals, so I just want to clarify because some of those words have been used interchangeably, and I understand that, that's the way it is, but so our wards, we have 3 wards, and that's how we elect our council members, and then we have precincts, and that is our voting precincts. So law says that our wards have to be equally divided by population as close as possible. Our wards right now are very equally distributed. That is based on the population. They're right around the ideal number. So the Senate, the Legislative Commission plans to have the majority of their work done by Christmas. And then they will introduce legislation to the General Assembly to solidify those lines for approval by January 15th is their target date. So the first step for Newport right now, which is ongoing, is called geocoding. So that means our GIS coordinator in-house just is taking the voter file that I sent him and he's making sure that there's not any like wayward streets or odd things like that. So that can go on right now behind the scenes, but we can't do our work until basically the state finishes their work. And then we'd redraw our ward and precinct lines based on any movement in the rep and Senate lines to be sure that there are no pockets created. Looking at the data right now, all of our precincts fall in the legal range, which is no less than 500, no more than 3,000. So unless the lines were to be shifted, all of our precincts are currently in conformance with the law. All of our wards are very equally distributed right now. So again, unless there were some overwhelming reason to change those ward lines, the ideal thing is to leave them as consistent as they are, particularly to avoid any voter confusion. So what we do typically, most municipalities, with the exception of maybe 2 in the state, they go out to bid, they hire a vendor that does the work using the census data, using the rep and Senate lines. They go through, make sure, you know, if a rep line has been moved over just a little bit, a lot of times it makes sense to move our ward line, but then we have to make sure that it doesn't, you know, fluctuate the population in that ward. So they do all of that, and then they come up with 1, 2, 3 proposals. In 2012, they had 3 proposals. Then they had a public input meeting at the library where they went over the 3 proposals and the public was given the opportunity to provide feedback. After that, the proposals go back to the canvassing authority. They vote on a recommendation, and then that recommendation is forwarded to the council, and the ultimate final approval falls with the council. I did develop a proposed timeline. I don't know if you had an opportunity to view it, but I anticipate we would have a vendor selected on the docket for you to select for your February 16th meeting, begin the work, and then we would have I anticipate the May 18th council meeting would be the latest we would have you approve the new precinct and ward lines, and that would give us well in advance of the 30 days for the declarations of candidacy, which is the June 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I just,
Councilor.
I just want to make it very clear that this vendor that would come in would be a completely non-political, no undue political pressure put on that person. Is that correct?
In theory, yes. I mean, I don't know if there's any vendors out there that have some type of political influence. The 2 to 3 vendors that I'm aware of that would likely bid on it, no, they're independent organizations that have done this. They've done it in other municipalities. We will require in the RFP that they provide a list of municipalities they've conducted the work for, because I don't think it behooves the city to hire some fly-by-night company who just decides to get into the game for this purpose. So that we will develop a matrix and evaluate the bids. But the 2 that I know of that have been, you know, kind of out there, they're both very professional, both very experienced in conducting this, and they are independent organizations. One of those vendors is the same one that is doing the work right now for the Senate and the representative districts. He's working with the legislative committee. If the public or even council is interested in reviewing any of the information, any of Newport's data, any of the, you can see the public meetings that the state has held online at redistrictingri.org. There's a lot of very, very beneficial data on there. They have had their first round of public meetings throughout the state. I know Councilor Bova was there, and I was.
So is I.
Okay.
Just want to know.
I know Jamie spoke, so I saw her there.
Sure.
That's,
Okay, thank you.
any other questions?
I think
Well,
that's
just one question. So we are looking to hire a vendor in February. Right? You would come with a recommendation.
Yeah, according to the resolution, we will issue the RFP in January with the proposals due by the end of January, and then it would go to council. Council has to approve all the bids, so.
And that would be a vendor apart from this one, or we're talking about the same vendor for this resolution? Would it be a separate
This
vendor?
resolution is referring to the vendor.
Okay, all right. So it would be just one.
Yes,
All right.
and then I imagine that there'll be some public, meetings where we would receive public input. Those are usually done after the vendor has come up with some proposals so that we have something tangible for the people to see and comment on.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
So
Counselor.
what would make this resolution different than what we presently do, where we have the vendor and then the public hearings?
Well, what I can tell you is in 2012, it was done a little bit differently. There was only one public meeting. So this resolution calls for one public informational meeting, three public meetings to be held in the evening, plus the Board of Canvassers meeting where they vote on the recommendation to council to also be held in the evening. So in 2012, the only meeting that was in the evening was the one that was held at the library. Of course, all the canvassing authority meetings are open to the public.
Right. Was
So-
that with the vendor though, or they?
We
asked-
did, no, there was a vendor hired in 2012,
Right,
yes.
but would this resolution request or ask for the public meetings without the vendor or with the vendor present?
Well, that's something we would have to specify in the RFP if we wanted the vendor to be there for every one of these meetings. I don't know with only 2 to 3 known vendors and 39 or a few less municipalities, I don't know that they're going to be willing to attend 4 meetings, but,
I mean, I don't have a problem with up to 4 meetings, but the reason I even ask it is because I think a neutral party should be there to filter and to be able to summarize what these public meetings have actually come to for comments, so that we don't hear the negative word gerrymandering that we hear almost every ugly election where that
Well,
happens.
do you consider me
I consider you a neutral party.
Okay,
because-
so
yeah.
any meetings that were required, I would definitely be at.
Oh, all right,
yes,
thank
yes.
you. All right, that explains, I feel better about it.
Okay.
Thank you. It's not me.
It's not mine.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. The one recommendation or the one suggestion I had made with the sponsor was to have one of the meetings during the day and one at night, because not everybody works during the day. There are some people that work at night and would appreciate being able to come during the day. So I just wanted to make that amendment that the meetings, 3 public meetings, that one of the meetings be held during the day and the others can be held in the evening.
Second.
There's a motion, second, discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and voting on the resolution as amended. There's a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Ordinances amending Chapter 17.52, entitled Limited Business District.
Yes, the following chapters that we will vote to amend have to do with stores where goods are sold or services rendered primarily at retail, but not including marijuana retail facility. We will amend 4 chapters for the limited business district, waterfront business district, general business district, and commercial industrial district to extend the ordinance so it will remain in effect until May 15th, 2022. I move passage.
Well,
Second.
actually, you're
22nd.
moving to receive, refer to the planning.
I'm going to do that
Oh,
after.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
I just wanted to ask for clarification from the solicitor. So we're amending these for the ordinance to remain into effect until May 15th, 2022, and referring this ordinance that's in front of us.
Yes, I'm going to make that motion.
No, what should be done is, they're zoning ordinances, so they have to be advertised. They have to be referred to the planning board first, and that's, after that, they'll come before you for passage or.
So we shouldn't be voting to amend them tonight, we're just voting to refer them.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the motion should be you move to receive them as counsel, refer them to the planning board, and order advertising.
But we are not extending the moratorium until May 15th tonight?
No, you're not doing that tonight because they're zoning ordinances. They have to follow the zoning adoption process.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So, all right, so we will receive and refer to the planning board for recommendation and order advertised hearing for chapters 17.52, 17.56, 17.60, and 17.64.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 6016.
Yes, this is a recommendation from Patricia Reynolds, Director of Planning and Economic Development. It is recommended that the City Council authorize the city's consultant, Good Energy LP, to move forward with the public hearing process for adoption of the Community Choice Aggregation Plan as revised in response to comments presented at the July 21st, 2021 Council Workshop, and prepare for an opt-out program. I move approval.
Second,
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Madam Chair. Are we hearing from the planning director first?
We can. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, the council is being asked to authorize the city's consultant, Good Energy, to start the public review of the aggregation plan and schedule a public hearing. The aggregation plan has been revised based on comments from the July 21st, 2021 council workshop. A summary of the revisions is included in your packet. The council is also being asked to approve a revised version of the initial authorizing resolution, which removed the opt-out provision. The reasons for including the opt-out provision have been discussed in detail at past meetings and at the council workshop. State law requires the authorizing resolution indicate that the program would be an opt-out program. This revised resolution is also included in your packet. A customer is able to opt out at any time. At the end of the public outreach period and prior to the program launch, there are 33 days when customers can opt out before the program even starts, so they never have to participate. Or they can opt out at any time after the program starts at no cost. Customers can opt out online, call the program toll-free number, call National Grid customer service, or go through an alternative supplier of their choice. The programs established by the General Assembly for customers that qualify for low-income rates are not impacted by a city aggregation program. So qualified customers would continue to receive their discount regardless of participation. If the council approves starting the public review of the aggregation plan, this will be the start of an extensive public outreach effort. First, a public hearing will be scheduled. This hearing will be advertised twice in the local paper, along with the aggregation plan itself. The plan will also be available for review at City Hall, in the public library, and at the Florence Gray Center, and it will be posted on the city's website. The vast majority of the public outreach happens in the 6 to 8 weeks prior to the launch of the program. This effort will include mailings, community presentations, press releases, social media posts, flyers, and more. This outreach is meant to enable residents and businesses to make their own choices about participation. The purpose of the Community Choice Aggregation Program is to offer ratepayers another choice in their electricity supply, one that can provide more stable prices and support local renewable energy. And this initiative aligns closely with the goals, policies, and actions of the city's comprehensive plan's energy chapter. Thank you for your consideration of this tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to ask our director a question. In regards to the stages, I understand that the aggregation plan has like 7 steps that are in it. Or at least my understanding is maybe we're at step 4, maybe 5?
So the consultant is here and can answer that question more accurately than I can. Would like to hear from.
Sure.
Your name for the record, please.
Yes. My name is Jamie Rhodes. I represent Good Energy as both the sales and outreach manager, as well as the Rhode Island attorney for Good Energy. And to the question, without repeating it, so I don't have the numbers in my head exactly, but where we're at in the process is that a vote tonight would allow us to move forward with a public hearing on the plan here. After that public hearing, the plan can be revised or amended either the direction of the city or direction of the council, prior to the council having an opportunity to approve the plan then as revised. After the plan would be approved by the council, it would be then sent to the Public Utilities Commission for their review. After the Public Utilities Commission does their review of the plan, and assuming that they have an approval of it, we would then go out to bid for the program to determine who the best supplier to work with is, what the rates would be for the program. And at that point, we would bring that recommendation back to the council, and only at that point of actually awarding the contract to a supplier is the program actually going to launch. So up until that point, these are just the continual steps. We're making sure we come back to the council for approval each time. After the supplier is chosen, we know what the rates are that would be offered by the program, and also know the national grid rates at that time. We would then launch the really aggressive education outreach program, including direct mailings, community meetings. So at that point, we'll actually know when the program would be launching, as well as what rates would be offered. Up until that point, we could say we're launching this program, but we're not going to have that key information that everybody's going to want.
So tonight is really about a formality and just asking permission to continue on the steps so that we can gather the information, and so us as decision makers can come to a holistic decision at this time.
Yes.
Well, in the future.
And also I don't want to diminish the other request about changing the authorizing resolution, because I know moving this from an opt-in program to an opt-out program is a significant change. I know that's also part of the request made tonight.
And I see too that the adder's fee has been waived.
It's been fully removed from the program completely.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
Okay, I have 2 big questions for you, because I have spent a huge amount of time talking to attorneys, some legislators, the PUC attorney. So my 2 big questions and comments are, number 1, people today, any one of us, can enroll in the opt-in for renewable energy on our power supply bills today, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so knowing that, why would any entity, including the city, not go out and then have an educational or informational program to try to get people to opt in rather than force upon people an opt-out position?
So, just as a point of clarification, there's not currently an aggregation program that somebody can opt into in existence right now in Rhode Island. So what's currently available is that an individual could go out to the market and select an alternative supplier that may offer a 100% renewable product, 50% renewable. They might be offering more renewable energy in their electricity supply than what's currently available through National
But they
Grid.
can opt in to do a renewable energy now. I just got off the phone before the council meeting with an attorney who does this business.
Well, yeah, I just want to be clear is that we use the term opt-in and opt-out to describe the aggregation program itself, but what they would be opting into is essentially just choosing an alternative electricity supplier. So they'd be contracting with a company other than National Grid to provide their electricity. And yes, there are options on the market for additional ones that have more renewable energy.
People do it today, but
Yes.
this would put people into the program with the opt-out option, which means that, and it's kind of not clear in this proposal that's with us tonight. In one section, it says the consumer notification letter will include an opt-out reply card and envelope. Consumers will have 33 days from the date of the mailing to return the reply card if they wish to opt out of the program, blah, blah, blah. Then another section says that the consumer can opt out anytime the consumer wishes to. And then I talked to somebody who said, and I'm very picky about these things, that if people wish to opt out, that it's not really an easy process. I can't say one way or another. I'm just telling you what I hear from people, that sometimes there's a little portion on the website of, let's say, any company, including clean energy, that they would get on that website to opt out. So basically, people today can purchase and be part of the renewable energy if they wish. But this would be a program where people are told, or that they're actually not told, they're being put into an opt-out program where the energy supply would come from negotiated contract that clean energy creates or works on, correct?
So I want to be able to step back. So for the first question you raised about the opt-out procedure. So the card that you described there, the consumer notification, which has a letter describing both how somebody can opt out, what the individual rates are for each individual to compare to make an informed choice. The opt-out period is 33 days, which means that that 33 days allows them to opt out before the program ever launches, so they can choose to never participate. The ability to opt out of the program is maintained as per the Rhode Island law requires, that they can opt out at any time. Actually, the Rhode Island law requires that they have to be able to opt out at least every 2 years. The programs we design mean that an individual customer can opt out at any given month of their choosing. And
So isn't the energy is a commodity? So let's say that that everybody in Newport was put into the opt-out program. Let's say after 33 days or 6 months or a year, that many people were not happy for one reason or another, and they decided that they were going to opt out. How does now, because those rates are negotiated, wouldn't that, if there were fewer people who were in that pool of rate payers, wouldn't that affect the rate that goes forward? Is it on a weekly basis, a monthly basis? How is that determined?
So actually, that's actually one of the benefits of an aggregation program, is that we require for any supplier to provide service to these programs, that they have to not change the rates based off of enrollment numbers.
For how long?
Which puts the risk, for how long is what we're going to do through the bidding process is bring those options of how long those contracts would be back to the city for them to choose. Is this a 1 year? Is this a 2 year? Is this a 3 year? And the rates change based off of how long we're willing to agree to work with that supplier. But the supplier takes the risk of if there is a reduced number of people that participate in the program, the supplier is required to offer the same rate to the program for the duration of that contract, regardless of the number of people. So if it goes down to just one person, the same contractual rate is offered to that individual person.
Unless the company goes belly up.
Which we also have some very significant financial requirements that they have to post so that we only work with the companies that are not going to go bankrupt. And that we have sufficient financial details from them and bond assurances to make sure that's the case.
Madam Chair?
Okay, wait a minute, I'm not through. So, my next question is, there are 39 municipalities in the state of Rhode Island. Presently, I think there are 5 that have gone to the PUC, including Barrington, Providence, and so forth. So that leaves like 34 other communities. What makes Clean Energy LP,
Good Energy, I apologize.
Good Energy LP, think that they would then have more negotiating power for the price than National Grid that is negotiating for the 34 municipalities versus 5?
Yeah, there's actually 2 primary factors that we have. One is timing. National Grid is required to go to bid on 4 explicit days of the year. They have no flexibility. These are the days. What we're able to do with aggregations is say, we only have to go out to bid when the market's in our benefit. We have no requirement to bid on certain days. If the market is not in our benefit and it looks like prices will be high, we have no obligation to go to bid and maintain service from National Grid. And if bids come back that are too high, we can reject them all and not launch the program whatsoever. So the time is a big piece because electricity prices fluctuate significantly over time. And so our ability with timing is to say, let's only buy our electricity when the prices are low, rather than National Grid, who's required it to do 4 specific days every year.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, and sorry, the second reason that we're able to do it is that National Grid has 0 financial incentive to do a bidding process that will result in lower rates for residents. They are by law prohibited from making any money off of the supply of electricity. And as a for-profit company, if they're not allowed to make money off of something, there's a reduced financial benefit to do it to the maximum capability. They have to do the state requirements, and that's what they do. What we're setting up here through the aggregation program is where suppliers have actual financial benefit to offer a rate that's lower than National Grid's, because that's the only way that they're going to have participation in the program. And so what we have is for-profit companies aligned with offering people lower rates in order for them to achieve their goals in the market. And so it's timing as well as incentive that leads to lower rates.
And what's the financial incentive for Good Energy? I mean, we know that you get paid
Yes,
from.
as it's described in the plan and as we disclose on every notification to consumers, Good Energy is paid 1/10 of a cent per every kilowatt hour that's used, and we're paid by the supplier directly.
And I know that today, because I talked to an attorney before this meeting, and one of my counselors heard renewable energy, and I'm not saying it's bad, believe me, because I have dreams sometimes of the country being in a wasteland. But renewable energy can be a much more expensive than fossil fuels. And knowing that, I think it's important that we also realize, and I brought this up before, that the PUC requires that people who are having difficulty with their electric bills, in this case, to be part of a program where there's more affordable and a better rate, which I think is important for a lot of families. So knowing that, how would this renewable energy rate affect the bills of those families?
So yeah, so the two primary things that we wanted to make sure that we protected in these programs is one is the full bill discount that low-income ratepayers have. And the second piece is the existence of the arrearage management plan, which low-income ratepayers have the opportunity to, if they get behind on their bills, negotiate with National Grid on a payment plan, at the end of which what they haven't paid is forgiven as debt. We've worked with the Public Utilities Commissions, with National Grid, and with other suppliers through the purchase of receivables docket. It's called docket 5073, which was where the ruling was made that would implement the purchase of receivables program to protect all of these programs for anybody who participates in competitive supply. And so that docket has been resolved, and we're in the implementation period with National Grid, which is their due date is January 23rd, 2022, to make sure that all of those programs are maintained before any aggregation programs launch.
I personally have an issue with ratepayers being put in a program where they're automatically opted in. Well, we say opt-out program. I have a problem with that because I think that there are many people that get an electric bill or a gas bill or whatever. And I don't know too many that read the information that comes in the little slips in their bills.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a population that several people now, and we see that in the schools, have limited English. I don't know if they read those. I don't think most people read that. And so I think it's an issue for me.
And
Just put it that way.
And if I may, within the plan is the education and outreach program as we've currently described it. And I would call that a bare minimum of what we will do. And we're open to any ideas from the council, from members of the public, the Energy Environment Commission, of other ways to conduct our education and outreach efforts to be as inclusive as possible. And the challenge that I readily accept is to demonstrate that we can do an education and outreach program. This meeting is part of it, of how we connect people with where their electricity supply is coming from and the options they have to make when it comes to how we choose our electricity. So our goal is before the program launches that we are able to reach out and contact as many members of the community as possible so that's an informed decision. And for that reason, the letters that we send are not just slips into a bill. It is not just a little fold in that they might miss. We send them 2 direct mailings with the city seal on it to give them the level like this is important. This is a critical decision that they have to make. And then in addition to doing meetings like this, and we will meet with, present to, talk with any community group in the city before this program launches, including the ones that we've already proposed and committed to, plus any others that come up.
If this were an opt-in program with educational, same kind of public outreach, I would support it. Because I think you're then giving people information, the opportunity to read it, and the opportunity to make their own decisions. My difficulty with this is the opt-out portion of this program.
Okay, thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Councilor Leonard. Councilor Bova.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes, for being here and for participating in this process. I just want to, voice my support for this program. I think that community choice aggregation is extremely beneficial, both from the perspective of decreasing how much both the city and our residents are relying on fossil fuels, but also because of how much potential there is to actually save money for our residents. And that's what leads me to the question I have that I know that you've already answered, but I really want it to be reinforced, and so I'm asking it again. After we vote tonight, if we approve what's in front of us tonight, you will go forward on the public hearing portion, you'll educate people, and you'll eventually come back to the council with a bid. And the council gets to vote on that bid, correct?
So there's actually, I just want to be clear about what the process.
There's a lot more steps that I didn't say.
So and we're currently in this process with the 5 communities that have already had their programs approved. The bids for those programs are due this Friday. So I can't tell you exactly what we're seeing with those bids. We're still a couple days out.
I just want you to say, the bid will come to the council,
Yes, you will have the opportunity to choose whether or not to award the contract to the supplier.
which to me is probably one of the most important takeaways tonight, is what we are voting for is to continue on this process of finding a beneficial contract with a green energy supplier that we can move forward with and agree to and approve. And if we don't, if for whatever reason, Good Energy and the city are not able to, we can't find something that's beneficial to our residents, it comes back to the council and we won't approve it. And that's the most important thing, I think, to take away for people who are concerned or have fears for whatever reason about what this program would look like, is that A, what we're doing tonight is not opting everyone in yet. B, the opt-out portion is necessary for the negotiating power. And C, the council is not going to approve something that's not good for our residents. Thank you.
Madam-
Yes,
Madam-
Councilor Forte.
All right, so as I was hearing Councilor Bova, so if we approve this tonight, you're not opting anyone in?
That is correct.
Okay. Because I do want to make it clear, and for those residents that will see this meeting and in recording, it is scary for a lot of our residents, especially the ones that have connected with me in reference to we all, and everyone can agree, we are all for greener energy, definitely. We need it, and we have to do our part. But right now, there are residents that are scared because of the unknown. So like Councilor Leonard was saying, on the educational piece, is something that is missing for our residents. And I just want to say some of the quotes and stuff that I heard from the residents that connected with me is that some of the residents that are in Forgiveness Energy Program with National Grid, those folks have an agreement and they're worried about what happens with that. That's one thing. Another is there are priorities of special rates given to those households that are elderly, disabled, and with disabled children that have a special rate due to hardship that they face because of medical machines in the home. So these residents are wondering, well, what will happen with that? And then there's those using the LIHIP program that depend on the lowest rate already, that can't wait for later or whenever to negotiate a good rate because they feel that they've, had to go out and negotiate. They feel that what they have right now is good, at least for them. And some of them were saying, for them to opt out is something that they are saying no to. And like one resident had stated to me, I had to beg to get the special rate I have right now. So please do not change anything on my account. What do we say to those residents that are asking to have the opportunity to compare, to have before opting them in? And I just wanted to make that clear that the educational piece, I think is something, and I heard Councilor Bova, but I think we need to make it clear that no one is getting opt-in at all, even with a vote tonight.
That is correct.
Okay.
And just to respond, because I hear those concerns of the work that's had to be done by individual residents to make sure the National Grid honors the discount that they're awarded or that they're eligible for, or in the case of the arrearage plans, that's not necessarily a fun process to call National Grid and say, I can't pay my bill right now, and can I work on an arrearage plan for me to have some of that forgiven? Those are critical programs, and we were not willing to launch any of these unless each one of those agreements, each one of those discount rates were honored when the program launches, that there would be no change to any of those. So that's the work that we've been doing this summer with the Public Utilities Commission and making sure National Grid does its billing system upgrades so that each one of those programs is maintained and there will be no change to any one of them. And I stand before you and say, I give you my word that that is what the rule in place now is, and that will be in effect in January 2023 unless National Grid tries to delay it in some way. So I give you my assurances that those discounts will be maintained.
Now, So just to reiterate the process, we vote for this today.
Mhm.
The next process would be, is it the educational piece?
The next process will be a public hearing in front of the council so that you can hear the input from residents. That will include publishing the plan in all the places that Director Reynolds described, putting it up on the website for people to review, and putting notices in the paper to say, we are going to have a public hearing to receive comments on it. We're not doing direct mailings at this time because I can't tell them what the rate's going to be. I can't tell them when the start date's going. We're too far from that. But this is an opportunity, the first of multiple opportunities for them to come before either the City Council or the Public Utilities Commission to register their comments, concerns, opposition, support. So the vote after this would be say, we're now going to hold that public hearing. We will revise the plan accordingly, and then you will get a second vote. Then the next vote that you'll have to take is, do you actually approve the plan or not?
And I guess my last question is going to be, so when the opt-in will happen?
I'm sorry, could you say that?
The opt-in, and that you will have all of the participants opt in.
So the opt-in process is so it's not an opt-in process, it's an enrollment process.
Right, I'm sorry, yeah.
I get my terminology, I just want to be correct. So after that opt-out period ends, over the following month, what we will do is have an enrollment enrollment request sent from the supplier to National Grid to say, come the following month, they're going to be served by this new supply. And so that process is we do the opt-out, and then we do a month, it takes a month for us to do the back-end work with National Grid to enroll all of them. And the next time their meter's read, from that point on, they'll be provided supply by the supplier chosen by the city.
And will there be an opportunity for folks to opt out before that process?
Yes, so that 33 days is that opt-out process.
But there will be already opt-in?
So before we do the opt-out period, we can't actually process an opt-out at that time because at that point we may not have selected a supplier or finalized the agreement, or we haven't done the mailings yet. And so we haven't put out there about how to opt out. So we won't be able to actually receive the opt-outs until that roughly month, 33 days prior to the enrollment beginning.
Madam Chair? I just have a question. What about, so we talked about National Grid providers, like that this contract is probably based on that, but there may be others in the city that probably already have invested in other alternative, like solar panels, et cetera. How does this affect them, or does it?
Actually, it doesn't. In the sense that anybody who's put up like solar panels, they participate in net metering program or the renewable energy growth program, that's a contract for National Grid to buy the electricity that they produce. What we're talking about is an agreement for where they purchase electricity that they need to purchase. And so it doesn't impact the contract they already have with National Grid in any way.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor Holder.
Yeah, quick question. So as an aggregation plan, could we expect to pay the same rates as the other communities that are in the program already?
That is the expectation, although like I can't give it assurances at that because that bid's not done. We haven't gone through the bidding process here. But to be clear, one of the things we actually have asked everybody who's bidding on the supply, the bidding on the programs that are out right now is what's your on-ramp process? What would be the terms in which you would allow new communities to enter into that group that's already gone out to bid? So my expectation is that next time I come before the council, I'll have a better answer to that once we see what the suppliers are willing to offer.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
I believe in the program, but in order for you to develop the rate, you're going to take everybody's from Newport, right? To develop the rate.
That's correct.
It's not an opt-in, opt-out.
Mhm.
And once that rate's developed and you present it to us, it would be at that point that someone could opt out if they so chose.
So it would be, I just want to make sure I got the timing.
Sure.
The timing clear on this is
Yeah.
that, so we bring the recommendation back to you of, we think this is the best supplier to work with. We go through that. What would happen then is that if you, assuming you vote to approve it, then we would work with the solicitor's office, like let's finalize the contract with them now that we have the award in place. And what that will do is set the time frame of like, okay, here's where we're actually going to launch at this point. Prior to that, so that might be, maybe you take that vote, I'm going to make updates, but you take that vote in January. Perhaps we might not actually launch the program till May. So in order, and most of that is, I say those dates particularly because we wouldn't want to start in February because we wouldn't have the time to do the opt-outs or anything.
Right.
We also wouldn't want to start in April because National Grid is about to change its rates.
Right.
So for us to provide a fair evaluation for each customer, they have to prepare, they want to compare to the rates that they're actually going to be in for a longer period of time. So we seek to start these programs either the first, second, third month of those rate periods so that individual residents are actually making a better and informed decision for the rates that are actually available. So it might be at that point we start the process for it, but we might not launch for a couple months depending on those timing factors.
Okay, thank you. Also, one of the biggest disappointments that I've had in my career on the council was being chair of the Newport County Energy Consortium for 4 years. And I know how hard it is to get anything approved. That was 2012. We have done nothing to improve our status about energy and the community. I do believe in this program, but we won't know unless we try. We won't know unless we do something about it. And that is something, Councilor Leonard said renewable energy is more expensive. You better believe it is right now, but it'll come down. Fossil fuels control. They control everything we do in the environment. We've got to think of future generations. We've got to think of what we're doing to the community, what we're doing to the state, what we're doing everywhere. I will be supporting this, and I do believe in it. And I look forward to you coming back with a favorable rate for us.
I will be the first one to shout from the rooftops that we got it.
I'll be there with you. Is there any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes 6-1, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Action
Thank you.
number 6017.
Yes, this recommendation from the Department of Utilities Water Pollution Control Division staff recommends the award of amendment number 3 in accordance with contract number 17-070, section X, supplemental agreements to Wright Pierce for engineering services for the Wellington Avenue tide gates in an amount not to exceed $134,980. Funding for this project will be provided from the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund. It is also recommended that the term of the contract be extended to June 30th, 2023, and this is currently budgeted. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
I want to thank staff and everybody who worked on this docket item, because I truly believe that the tide gates in Wellington will improve the flooding issues that we have, including this past week. So thank you for the hard work. And I think that this implementation of the tide gates may really help. And the same is true for other areas, especially around the point, Marsh Street, 3rd Street. So we're working towards it. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Any other discussion? Yes, Councilor Gova.
I had a question for Mr. Schultz.
Robert Schultz, Acting Director, Utilities.
Thank you. So I know that some of the costs of this will be reimbursed with the Narragansett Bay and Watershed Restoration Fund and the 22 Climate Resilience Fund. I also know, there are other areas of the city that would potentially benefit from a tide gate like this. Is there additional funding that could be used for installations of tide gates in other areas of the city, or is there more funding from grant programs like these?
Yeah, the grant programs are ongoing. It's in flux right now, how much more is going to be coming in. We already have tide gates in several areas around the point. I don't believe there's any studies that have extreme low-lying areas that experience the flooding like Wellington and the point did with, the tidal influence in that. So this is the last major one we have.
Okay, thank you. I'm just, it could potentially be used for maybe not a tide gate, but other types of infrastructure.
Yes, there's an increase in the number of grant programs that are expanding. There's also resiliency ones out there. We have one right now that's ongoing for the pump station that has money, and there's several more that should be in the works. I think we're also waiting on award of a brick grant for study on the north and south pond and in that area as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz.
I'll just stay up there, Rob. I think Angela had, I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell him to stay up there because I know Angela had a question on it.
Oh, okay. A question, Council McCallum?
On the next one.
On the next
On the
one.
next item, yes.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Is there any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 6018.
Yes, the Department of Utilities Water Division staff recommends the award of an engineering services contract for hydraulic modeling services to PAR Corporation, Lincoln, Rhode Island, for an amount not to exceed $194,400. The Water Division Control Capital Improvement Program will provide funding for this project. And I just want to mention a little bit in the background. An accurate hydraulic model is a required tool for the effective management of stormwater. The department followed a qualification-based selection process as required under general law. And this is currently budgeted. Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion. There's a motion and second. Discussion? Yes, Councilor McCallum.
Thank you. I just would like a little more background information about the hydraulic system. And I understand that it improves stormwater management, but can you go into a little more detail about what this is and what areas are we targeting or?
If I reference stormwater in the document, I apologize. This is
Okay.
entirely the public drinking water system.
Drinking water,
Thank
okay.
you.
So we have one now that is over 10 years old and isn't functioning correctly to the real world. So the modeling here is going to create a computer model of the entire distribution system from all the way out in Portsmouth through Lawton Valley to Ocean Drive. Every pipe segment we have, valve, pump system, and tank. It allows us to simulate fire flows, emergencies if we were shutting a portion of the system down, if we had to do interim changes while we were doing maintenance, or in a big chunk of this is a program we've been doing, but we haven't had any computer simulations to do it, is some of the unidirectional flushing for maintenance to make sure water quality stays better. And then there's on-call services for if there's a large customer coming in, if we want to look at development or some water quality issues, rather than have to go throughout that entire system or the 3 pressure zones we have, we can simulate it with the computer.
Thank you.
We ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Schultz.
Action number 6019.
The administration recommends the award of the contract for parking management services to LAZ Parking Limited LLC of Boston, Massachusetts, based on the proposal submitted in response to the City of Newport's request for proposals number 21-003. The agreement is for a 3-year period with a 2-year options at the discretion of the city for a management fee of $356,904 per year. This is currently budgeted. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Leonard and then
Yep.
Councilor Bova.
I have a couple of questions to ask, I guess of Mr. Sergeson.
He's not, Kate, he had to be called out of town, so
Okay.
I'll see if I
well,
can field him. If not, they'll have to
this-
wait.
This program could be a 7-year program,
Potentially.
with the 2 options. It's a lot of money, $357,000 a year. So my questions are 2. One, how much were the other bids? Because we see that there were 3 bidders, but we don't see any prices.
Yeah, one bid was non-responsive.
Okay.
The other bid was virtually twice as much as this particular one.
Okay, and then my second question is, when it says here that the bids were evaluated, I'd like to know by whom, just for curiosity, because some of it seems
Yeah.
that it could be subjective. I'm not sure, because I'm not a traffic engineer.
Well, certainly we're gonna, Mr. Sergeson was part of the evaluation team. I don't recall who else was, but be that as may, and I can get that information for you, but we've done work with Laz Parking before. They are a noted industry player, if you will. So we awarded, we're suggesting that the award be go forward based upon best pricing and best quality of bid and actually history with the particular contractor as well. I get the information as to,
I would like to see when the contracts come to us, that we see the numbers for the bids.
Sure.
Because some departments put numbers and others don't.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Right, any other questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Thank you. So I was reading that it's going to replace all single space parking meters. So we're replacing all the meters in the city, is that?
Yes.
And then is it going anywhere other than the gateway? Is it this
No,
what we
this
do
is
at
the-
Mary?
This is the entire city where we single meter spaces, going with the pay and display machines, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. They're not going in, right now, they're not going in Mary. We have them down the beach, and you all know the success we've had down the beach with these. Mary Street has a pay and display function, but the gateway is a different animal in terms of what our obligations are down there, in terms of pricing and the like.
And then, so is it so that you can only pay at the pay and display?
Yes.
Okay, because I know that with the meters we have now, aren't they tied in where you can pay on your mobile as well?
Oh, you can do that. You're going to be able to do that as well.
Okay, that will stay.
We'll be interfaced to do that. Check that out when our meter personnel go by the vehicle. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 6020.
Yes, this is a recommendation from the Transportation Supervisor to approve Amendment Number 6 to the parking agreement between the City of Newport and the Marriott Hotel. Amendment Number 6 is a 5-year extension of the agreement between the City of Newport and the Newport Marriott Hotel for parking at the Gateway parking lot. This is an update and continuation of the original covenant between the two parties drafted in 1985 in conjunction with the construction of the hotel. I move approval.
Second?
There's a motion and second, discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor Leonard.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Counselor Holder, because I asked him a question and he went out and found the answer. I know that the contract that we had with the Marriott goes back years and years and years to 1985, and that the Marriott gives us a unit price per day for $5. So I was curious as to whether the Marriott charges their guests and how much the guests paid versus what the City of Newport got. And he did find the answer, which was that the Marriott pays the city the $5, and only if the guest wanted valet service did they pay extra to the Marriott for that valet service. So knowing that, I'm more comfortable with this contract.
Right, and then I'll just kind of anecdotally add that, this is a purchase of $21,000 tickets or validations, if you will. The interesting thing, because I had this conversation with Pat Sergeson, they only use historically on an average about 11,000 of those, so there's a windfall here. But the 21,000 was mandated. I mean, this goes back years, mandated with regard to how they would satisfy the zoning requirements when the construction took place.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 6021.
Yes, the Department of Public Services recommends submitting one grant application to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management under the 2022 Recreation Acquisition and Development Grant Program. The City of Newport is seeking funds under the subject RIDEM grant program for the purpose of funding one project, large grant program, max award $400,000, the construction of a multi-purpose soccer lacrosse field at Murphy Field. The project has been endorsed by the Tree and Open Space Commission. The project will include the removal of existing backstops and clay infields with the intent of creating a large open space with game quality turf that will allow the seasonal shifting of fields to disperse wear. The project will include drainage improvements as well as the installation of sod and irrigation system to establish game quality fields and play areas for the citizens of our community. The complex has not seen major investments in more than 2 decades. The project will also include a new 2 to 5-year-old playground, accessibility improvements, a drinking fountain, and sitting areas. The total project cost is estimated at $575,000, with 80% of the funds coming from the grant and the remaining $175,000 from capital funds. I move approval to apply for this grant.
Second.
There's a motion
Madam
and
Chair.
second. There's a motion and second. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Leonard.
Yeah. I saw this on the docket, and first of all, I want to commend staff for looking for grant funds. I think that's one good thing that we do. I do have to say that when I saw it on the docket, I called several neighbors who were in the vicinity of Murphy Field and some parents at Rogers, students. And I said, by the way, do you know that the city's applying for the grant? And they said, no, haven't heard a thing. So I'm bringing it up here today because I think that it's very important that when the city is talking about uses and improvements to a park that has many surrounding neighbors, that I think it's the city's responsibility to reach out to the neighbors, to have an open discussion of what the plans are, and so the neighbors can actually comment whether they think it has an impact or not. I know that the neighbors that I spoke to were very much in favor of a lot of, they want the kids to play in the park. They want to know who would use the park. They know that the park's been a mess for years in terms of drainage and so forth. But we don't seem to reach out to those people that are impacted by some of the elements that we put on the docket. And I think that transparency and public awareness are 2 big things that should happen when we talk about parks. So I don't think I make it my responsibility always to reach out to constituents if I think something affects them, and I pick up the phone or I send an email. But I really think that one way the city can improve, and I'm not doing it to be critical, is that we reach out and tell people this this is an opportunity for you to give us your feedback and let us know what you think about what is being proposed. So I think some neighbors may have come here tonight, but there were some neighbors that emailed, and the council did receive those emails. And some of them said that they had asked the question since the last time the application was put in 2019 and never got a response yet. And actually several of them say that. And they wanted to say that, you know, they would like to have some information, and I think that that should happen. So the public, I don't know how many neighbors are here, but I think that when we do apply for these big grants with the opportunity to get them, that it might also help that neighbors are able to offer support and then elements of it that may actually help us get the grants. So that's my comment on this. I think that before we go forward with doing some of these things, that we owe it to people who live in the areas to have an opportunity to speak.
The only thing I would say is that we're really good at applying for grants. We don't always get them. And to really get people involved in it and everything and not get the grant, then it would almost feel like, well, how come? You know, where are you going to get the money from? Are you going to do this? I believe once we get the grant, certainly, you know, if there's going to be major changes, we could talk about it. But my understanding in terms of this grant was initially about the water that's down there, that the Rogers High School uses that, and, you know, to fix some of those things. So I just, you know, I don't disagree that the neighbors, once a grant is there, but if you put it out there every time we would for a grant, I just feel like people would think, oh, they're going to get X number of dollars, and that's not the way it happens, unfortunately.
Madam Chair, I just think it's important that if we're applying for a big grant,
Yeah,
that neighbors and people who are interested should know that we're applying for it and what we are applying for. I mean,
yeah, I don't
I
have
think
a
we need to
problem with
say,
that. It's right
what
here.
are we actually applying for here?
Yeah, and I mean, but to let people know every time we're applying for a grant, I think.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
But I would like somebody from the city to say to people what we are applying for.
Okay,
But, Madam Chair, but isn't that what we're doing now?
that's,
But we have people here that would like to know.
Madam Chair.
yes, Councilor Boba.
So, I mean, I recognize that there's a lot of residents that are concerned, and I remember when we first applied, well, I don't know if it was first, but when we applied for this grant a couple of years ago, residents were concerned then, and we did hear from them, and we gave them the assurances of, you know, if we get this grant, once that process starts, they'll be included. The unfortunate thing is we didn't get it then, and so we're applying again, and so we're in the same place that we were in 2 years ago. And so I think that like where some of the frustration or nervousness is coming from residents, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I'm worried that they think that this is us kind of going back on what we said a couple of years ago when we first applied for the grant, saying, if we do get the grant, when it comes back, not only will it come back to the council to accept the money, and we can then require public meetings to be a part of the whole process, including, you know, the design and making sure we get public input as part of that. But we're in the same boat as we were 2 years ago, unfortunately, in that there's been no change. And I want people to understand that, because it's not that we skipped a step or anything. It's that we have been stalled for a few years. And so we're still just trying to get the money so we can actually start the process of doing the work and getting the input. But what we have in front of us tonight is the level of information and the level of detail that's been done for work that would be done at Murphy Field. It's very high level, you know, it's what Councilor Segley read out of having construction of the multipurpose field, it's having some drainage, but there's no detail yet because that part doesn't come until we get money. And I want to give assurances to the residents the same way I did last time of if we get the funding, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth on this council, but I'll speak for myself that I will definitely advocate and work to ensure that residents get multiple public meetings and are made a part of that process. It's just right now, there's not really that much of a process to include you in yet until we get this grant, which we may or may not. And I do actually, I was hoping that Mr. Riccio would be here. He is. Oh.
Yeah.
Is he hiding? I can't see because I had a question for him. Oh, I couldn't see him behind the monitor. Because I wanted to know, it's been 2 years, we're applying again. Is this application substantially different than how we applied a few years ago?
No, it's exactly the same. The only thing we added was the playground to make it a little larger and to hopefully get some money to do that too, because we've been talking about.
So, I guess that leads my question though of, what do we think our odds are this time versus last time? And how do we think we can, if we don't get it again, how do we think we can do better?
They don't tell you why you don't get something when you don't get something. There's usually an announcement of who gets it and you never hear who doesn't, so DEM has indicated to us that they could give us some feedback from the 2009 program. To my understanding, the last time I checked with staff, they have not been able to connect with DEM to get that information.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Riccio.
Eric Reese, Recreation and Beach Administrator. Bill's probably not aware, but we did have a follow-up phone call with Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, and they did give us feedback on scoring from the last grant round, where we lacked and where we did good. So we have those baselines that we can work off of and basically try to, do a better job this time around.
Thank you. And then the other question I wanted to ask is, if we do receive this grant, will it come back to the council to approve the acceptance?
Yes.
And then I guess this question is really more of not a question so much as a clarifying statement, but at that time, when it comes to the council, when we vote to approve it, we can require there to be public meetings and notifications and all of that, so that when the actual design work is taking place before construction, but the actual design, there can be public input. And so that can be made a part of the approval process for actually accepting the grant.
Correct.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Can
Counselor.
I just add one thing? People have asked me for, I don't know how many years, and we all know about the stone slide at Murphy Field. Could this possibly be, because it is a recreational slide, could that possibly be something that could be looked at the time, should the grant come to fruition, or something similar to that, because I know that that's not stable.
Yeah, I'm going to just jump in here on that question and let Eric answer it. There isn't enough money even close in this grant to replicate that slide. We priced it out. We attempted to put some money in the CIP as seed money, if you will, either last year or the year before, but obviously things weren't looking rosy fiscally, so that number came out. But this grant is, and we've had this experience before, this grant is tied to what it's requesting, and that is money to do drainage, money to do remove the backstops, improve the field and the like. The slide is a bear of an issue, and
I know.
it doesn't really fit, at least as I understand it, fit within the shoebox of these types of grants.
All right, that was my question.
Right.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Segley.
But is it true that that slide is really, if it were to be renovated as it is not up to code for children to play on?
No, not at all. And
Okay,
the
thank you.
pricing.
I mean, if we were to do it exactly the same way,
Oh.
it would have to be a different design.
Well, I'm
correct?
just going to tell you what the pricing was within the last time we went out. It was $750,000, and I think that was probably 5 years ago. So we know what the cost of materials and construction prices are these days. So as I said, it's a tough bear. I mean, the recommendation of the staff 6 years ago, 7 years ago was to tear it down, but everyone recognized that probably wasn't acceptable. So we've been trying to find a path forward on it loosely for a number of years. There was a group that is active and interested in, rehabbing it. So we've been trying to figure that out.
Okay,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Holder.
Yeah, so my question, and I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit because we haven't got the grant yet, but is there any intent that there are going to be games to be played at this field? Because it says we're unable to replace practicing game fields, but the game field is, I think, would be a worrisome thing for a lot of the neighbors.
Well, I think Eric, why don't you try to take a shot at that, because it is in the council letter as describing the use.
So I think, could we see potential games on an interim basis? I would say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because we just don't know what's happening with Rogers High School construction. If that soccer field track area becomes a staging area for construction, we're going to be seeking out other fields to play games. I mean, right now, Topa Field is heavily used between the high school and Salve Regina. We can go to Braga, where it's really used by Thompson Middle School. So could there be games at Murphy? I would say maybe. I mean, it really depends on what happens with this project.
Well,
But for a long term,
I think that'd be a big step, because if you're talking live games, it's obviously parking is the number one issue, but now you're talking restrooms, you're talking concession stands, you're talking seating.
and we would have that in the back of our mind and not try to do a lot of things there and try to use our other assets first. It would be almost like a last ditch effort, I would think. But again, we don't have the information in front of us as far as what's going to happen. And the first thing that's going to happen, if that track gets taken away, is that the Rogers AD is going to be calling me and saying, we need a place to play games. And we really don't have many places to play games. And again, that would be an interim basis while the school's being built for the 2-year project that it probably will be.
Right.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 6022.
6022. The Department of Public Services recommends awarding the contract for the Broadway Traffic Signal and Pedestrian Safety Improvements Project to the apparent low bidder, Cardi Corporation of Warwick, Rhode Island, based on the submitted unit bid price proposal for the associated work for not to exceed a total of $928,424.70. The scope of the work includes roadway and traffic signal improvements from Friendship Street to Bliss Road, including but not limited to the following: replacing the existing traffic and pedestrian signal at Friendship Street, installation of drainage improvements, removing and repaving the Broadway area, replacing sidewalks and installing trees, It is anticipated that the work will begin within 2 weeks of contract execution. Following department procedure, residents will be notified of pending work by department correspondence on the city website, local newspapers, and email notifications. This project is currently budgeted. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and second, discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor Leonard.
I just have a question. What part of Broadway are we talking about? Because here it says, and I get this, the pedestrian signal at Friendship Street, installation of drainage improvements, great. Then it says removing and repaving Broadway work area. I don't know where that is because we had Broadway closed off for months and months in the past and spent millions. I'd just like to know if it's the same area, different area.
It's Friendship to Bliss.
Replacing sidewalks, installing trees. Where is this area
Mr.
for almost
Ricchio?
$1 million?
It's essentially the Friendship Broadway intersection.
Oh, up higher. Okay.
From
So
there,
it's a
and then-
continuation of what we did on
Yeah,
Lower
like
Broadway.
up to Bliss, exactly.
All right,
And
thank
this was we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah, thank you.
We actually did this project 3 times because contractors kept messing up the bids and we had to throw them out. So,
Okay. I just want clarification.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
I remember this, you guys giving a workshop like 3 years ago on this. This is the same project, right?
I've never seen a bid
Okay, I was
get
like,
thrown out.
I was like, am I having deja vu?
Can you promise we'll see no more graffiti there?
Madam
Every
Chair.
utility company, every
I will never promise
contractor,
that, Mayor.
it's all over the walks, all over the street. I'm
Madam
glad
Chair.
it's getting done.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Quick question, is this both sides of Broadway? So Friendship to Bliss Road and also to Malbone on the other side of Broadway?
I'm not following. Both
So
sides of the
it says,
street.
oh, it says Broadway to Bliss Road, so is it just?
Yeah,
Where
so it's
Malbone
Friendship
comes.
Street to Bliss Road, so it's just that's the east side?
No.
The sidewalk on both
That's
sides.
But just that area.
But the sidewalk on
Yeah,
both
I mean,
sides.
yeah, so you cross over, Malbone's on the other side, so I just used Bliss
Well,
because.
I just said Friendship to Bliss Road, so I didn't know, maybe it was just gonna do that one side of the street, so I just want to clarify.
It's both sides of the street.
It better be.
Are there any other questions? No. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn as council and convene as Board of License Commissioners.
Second.
There's been a motion second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a Class F1 daily liquor license, St. Spiridon Greek Orthodox Church.
Yes, this is for an event December 4th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at St. Spiridon Greek Orthodox Church. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
A public hearing on the application of Harry's Newport Burgers LLC, DBA Harry's Bar and Burger, 464 to 466 Thames Street, holder of a Class BL alcoholic beverage license to transfer ownership to 1899 LLC, DBA Wally's Wieners for the same premises.
Madam
This
Chair,
is
this
a
public
hearing.
Yes.
Is there anybody here who would like to address this issue? Please come forward and your name and address. Thank you.
All right. Matthew Lyons and 513 Broadway.
Okay.
So I am representing the proposed transferee, 1899 DBA Wally's Wieners. And this is a pretty straightforward liquor license transfer. It's a beer and wine liquor license that is currently held by Harry's Bar and Burger. That's the tenant there, and it is being proposed to be transferred to what would be Wally's Wieners. The liquor license would be used as it is currently. The space, there's no real structural changes, just, changing the owner.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this issue? Any questions from the council?
Motion to close the public hearing and approve.
Second.
There's a motion and second to close the public hearing and approve the license. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A public hearing on the 2021-2022 liquor license renewals.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is a public hearing. The first one on the list is a Class BV for Old Battle Axe Incorporated, doing business as the Reef, West Howard Wharf. Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and second to open the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Yes, please come forward. Your name and address for the app.
Good evening. My name's Josh Parks. I'm a lawyer representing.
Sir, I'm sorry, could you
Yeah.
lower the mic a little and speak more directly into it?
Sure. Is that better? Thanks. My name's Josh Parks. I'm an attorney representing Old Battle Axe, doing business as the Reef. And thank you for the council for hearing me tonight. We're here for a limited purpose to renew the BV license that the Reef has been operating under for the last couple of years. As I believe the council is aware, the owners bought the Reef from the prior very long-standing owner, just about in time for the pandemic, unfortunately. However, the owners used that time to pour a whole bunch more money into that restaurant, renovate it, turn it into a bright, welcoming establishment, and the goal is to have an inviting place on the water, open to the public, where people can come and enjoy, the city of Newport's greatest asset, the harbor. I am unaware of any complaints in terms of how the business has been operated. It's not a rough or rowdy scene or crowd. The owners have a long-standing relationship with Newport. It was a long-held dream to open up a restaurant here, and they're really excited to do so and to continue being citizens of this city. I recognize that there's a lot of discussion over the public right-of-way that's nearby. For the last couple of years, they've been operating under it was defined as a 10-foot space, and now it's come to a head that maybe some folks think that should be wider. And we were down. I was down on Friday speaking with representatives of stakeholders. I know an attorney for Front the Waterfront is here in the audience, together with the city solicitor's office, just walking the site and gaming things out. I think it was a productive conversation. I think that the owners are really highly motivated to be here and be good neighbors. I don't think there's any criticism of that. The right of way has not been occluded or anything like that. And I don't think that issue should be used to kind of hold the liquor license hostage. If the license isn't approved, then the business can't operate. I stand ready to answer any questions that the council may have, but I strongly urge you to please grant the license.
Mr. Parr, we have received information from our solicitor that is recommending that the right-of-way, or at least the description of the right-of-way, stays in place at this time. Certainly, we can grant your license, but not in the right-of-way. I've been on this council a long time, and the last owner went through this for a while, and then he finally said, okay, I'll observe the right-of-way. I really feel that should continue. That's important. That's important to the citizens of Newport to have a way to walk down, and they've always had that. I would be approving that license with the recommendations of the solicitor until that issue is resolved.
That's
They are
understood.
not to have anything on the right-of-way obstructing it.
So,
Madam Chair?
Mr. Solicitor.
just so I can cut to the chase.
Sure.
I have had discussions with Mr. Parks, also
Okay.
Michael Rubin, and representatives from Save the Bay. And I informed them of the recommendation that I was going to make to the council, the Board of License Commissioners on this, is that they certainly approve the liquor license and the vit license. And I won't speak for Mr. Rubin, but I'm sure he's gonna agree, as will Save the Bay, that they're not trying to hold up that.
Right.
Recommendation will be that there be no tables or chairs or any other obstructions in what we'll call for now the disputed right-of-way area, which is a 18.24 foot area that goes to the terminus at the western end where Newport Harbor is. And I believe everyone is acceptable to that recommendation. I did tell Mr. Parks that, of course, later on, they're like any other license holder, they were free to petition the council for to allow them to do certain things down there for outdoor seating and that would be up to the council at that point to decide what to do. So the time being, there'd be nothing in the, we're calling it the disputed right-of-way area.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor Leonard and
Yeah.
then Councilor Bowles.
Thank you. I don't know how much you know of the history other than the discussion with the solicitor and Mike Rubin, but I want to thank Friends of the Waterfront and Mike Rubin because since I got elected in 1995, this is one of the issues for the public rights of way.
I was around in 95, but not voting then.
Yeah. Well, this has been here a long time, and Friends of the Waterfront, with help from Mike Rubin, has worked repeatedly to, and I helped raise funds to create the Harbor Walk and the fact of the people having access to the water. So this is really a very